Hey,
Going.
I'm so excited to have you on callmejz.ai. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I taught my first podcast class on Monday, and Minvo.pro was my recommended AI editing tool. So perfect timing.
I love that. I'm excited. How did that go?
It was really fun. They launched their own podcast during the class, which is, the hurdle a lot of people envision but never publish. So I was really excited for Dawn and Siobhan. They did a great job.
That's really exciting. That's really exciting. Are they podcast in the business space, right?
They're podcasting in the business, yes, and entrepreneurial space. They're all female entrepreneurs.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm going to just give a shout out to my website, podcastboss.callmejz.ai. But David, I'll turn it over to you for your intro.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me on the show. We've been in the social media space for about 2 years now, and we really got started here because we had a love for podcasts. And when I say we, it's my brother and I, and we were listening to so many podcasts, and we just felt that there were not enough people discovering all the awesome podcasts that are out there. And we realized that one of the biggest barriers for podcasts to grow was being able to do all of the social media and marketing work that is involved with getting their content out to people. Because when you think about your podcast or your content, you really need to pique people's curiosity over social media before they're going to commit a whole hour of their life to listening to the long form. So that's totally fair. It totally makes sense. But because of that time and the money involved that it takes to do all that work, we felt we could do something different. So the team comes from a background of a bunch of different tech companies, Google, Tesla, Amazon, etc. And we said, let's bring all that together, build something that helps people save a lot of time and use AI in a way that is very helpful. And now we're really excited because we see so much great content coming out of the platform for all these podcasts, and they really are starting to see growth, which that's the reason we started all of this.
Wow, thanks for reminding us of that. And anyone in the audience, please comment, where you're commenting from, if you listen to podcasts. And David, how did you and your brother get into listening to podcasts? What was that first moment?
My first podcast was Philosophize This. It's short mini episodes about different philosophers and philosophies. I love that. And Daniel's first podcast was in the sports space. I think it's either Skip and Shannon or something else in the basketball kind of sports space.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people I've met in the AI video space do come from podcasting. So I'm glad you highlighted that. That's a good insight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, why don't you give us a demo? I put the screen on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. So this is Minvo. The process of Minvo is super simple. All you do is you upload your video, or you can paste in a link from YouTube. So I can paste a link right from here or upload my file. Once it's through, the AI goes and finds all of the key parts that we could use for our shorts. So instead of watching 2 hours of video and trying to pick all the parts, AI's already gone through and selected parts that we could use. And we can look at that on a transcript as well. So it's really quick and easy. And when I find a moment that I like, I'll typically go through and I'll read it and see if I want to change where it starts or ends. A tip for everyone out there creating short form video: you also want to make sure that you're not just clipping out something from your content, but something that starts on a very impactful point and clip enough that you can cut out things to create a cohesive story. So after I'm done kind of picking the content from my content, we go into Minvo's AI editor. And it is so fast to create content through this editor. And this is why I love working here so much. So to get started, I'll do some reframing. Move this over here. Let's say we center down to the speaker. Can adjust that a little bit as well. Then we can go through and we could magic cut out the filler words. We could add in emojis. We could add in media. Maybe we can go ahead and do the media for now. And I'll get the videos to cover the screen. So the style I want, and just like it's really easy to pick what you like and what you want for your content. From here, everything's gonna be very familiar, just like Descript or Premiere, whatever you're used to. You'll see that the videos got inserted right in here, depending on what's been said. And what's really handy is if I don't like one of these videos, I click Change Media, and I could search for something like iPod. And you get to search a pretty large library of stock media and GIFs that we have available. So I could switch this out with an iPod. I'll fill it, a bit larger here, and boom, now we have a video. The other thing that's really nifty is when you're creating short form content, you're often cutting a lot from the long form content. So potentially we want to start with this sentence, but then we want to cut out a section in the middle. So just highlight it, click cut, and now that's been cut out, this section here. I'll zoom out to show you what that looks like. So when you're editing video here, it's super quick, it's super fast. You've got transcript-based editing to make it easy to cut things or even insert things. So if we want to insert something over here, just highlight it, add overlay, add emoji, and we're done. That makes it quick to add a lot of engaging elements to your content. Typically, we can get a clip edited within 10 minutes, which is a huge difference from the 2 to 3 hours it typically takes someone to do this in Premiere. And then once we're ready, we can download or post this directly to every platform. So I can go over to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and post directly to every single one of those channels, making the process really streamlined.
Wow, amazing. I love it. These are so many new features, and it is the fastest on the market. So I've tested like 20 or 30 of these. So this is definitely my favorite.
I love that. I love that.
Well,
What's your workflow look like in the product?
Well, and people in the audience, please comment your workflows and questions. But for me, I go from a hour-long or podcast like this. I put it in. I think my first step is to see if my main insight is picked up by the AI, because a lot of times, like, the insight that I have is very different, right? The machine thinks in a common denominator term, and I think in a innovation term, because my ideas haven't been put into the model yet. So I'm looking for my insight. And if it's there, great. If not, I actually find it in the transcript and create a new clip. But then I'll look at all the clips, like my insight plus, the 20 clips that you gave me, and I'll pick 5 to download. And then I guess before the download, I'll like fix some of the words and change the aspect ratio. And that sucks up a lot of time. I have to admit, like, I have to like make sure I time box myself, because I could do this forever. It's so fun. And then I actually have 2 steps. So I'll take the best clip. It could be the insider, could be, your AI's pick. And I'll schedule that through Minvo to my socials, to like 3 or 4 of my socials. And then I'll take the rest of the clips, maybe download like 5 to 7, import them into my Substack. So I'll have the full episode as the main Substack that goes to Spotify as an RSS feed. And then I have your clips on the bottom as kind of like chapter headings and highlights.
I'm a big fan of that. I think Substack for an email newsletter or a blog where you embed clips within it so that the article, there's something to read and there's something to engage with after. I think that's a huge hack right now when it comes to growing a brand and getting your content out there more widely.
Yeah, I think it's about, like you said, from 1 hour, getting all these little clips that fill up your calendar for the whole week and kind of amplify your presence. I guess I'm curious, do you see people monetizing from this kind of marketing? I know they're selling something, but are they actually becoming influencers due to these little clips?
Yeah. Well, I think there's like 3 ways to really use content in a way that can generate revenue. And the most typical one we think about is getting sponsors and running ads and getting revenue through that. And I think that it's doable, but it's only going to come in the long term. Like, that comes after you have maybe a few thousand listeners, you have really great reach, because then people will want to, you're monetizing effectively your reach that you've built through the great content. But what we see much more often with a lot of the businesses and entrepreneurs that use Minvo is they are really using the content as a way to market their services and market their brand. So there's a course, there's a business behind it. We have therapists using the platform, accountants, real estate agents. There's something behind the content, which is what actually generates revenue. But the content is the greatest way today to distribute to billions of people or just the hundreds of thousands of people in your niche, because these platforms suggest the content to people who might be interested. So I think much more of the time it is about generating awareness for another business behind the content.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're doing great and you've got the personality and you've got the content and the guests and whatever magic sauce comes together and you become a really big thought leader, I think there's totally an opportunity to get sponsors and advertisers. But in the short term, just with a few hundred listeners, you could start generating revenue through the business that's behind the content.
Yeah, the business behind the content. And thanks for setting that expectation, because everyone goes in being like, I'm going to be famous, like Mr. Beast day one. And he wasn't, right? Like it took him a while, actually. So you should sell something else that's probably a higher ticket item, much more expensive, like consulting or a class or, whatever it is you sell. And think of this as just the thing in front of it that's marketing it for free. Okay. Well, I'm going to get into some questions, unless you had anything else to share about. Oh, you know what? I'm going to ask you a question about this. So the video overlay, is it timed? Because I know, like changing the screens and the shots is part of what I love the AI for. I don't have to think about the timing myself.
Yeah, so these videos already got inserted at specific times for us. Now we could obviously change that just by dragging or adjusting. And we can also change where the video starts. So if this is an 8-second video that we only want to show for a few seconds, we could adjust when that starts just from right here. So yeah, you have all the control over the timing, but the magic media and the magic emoji features will auto insert to give you basically a draft of where to get started, what emojis could be useful, where to put them, and then you can have all the flexibility of editing after that.
I see. So in that box, basically, if I don't change it, it's synced up to my words and the topic change. So I'm just changing the thing in the box, but I'm not changing the timing of the box unless I want to.
Unless you want to, exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, if anyone has any questions about these new features, let me know. I'm going to take this off the screen for now. So, David, I'm going to ask you one more thing about that. How did you make it so fast? Because I think that's the competitive advantage as well, right? Some of these platforms, especially since in my class, like we're trying to do it live time, it took like an hour for some of the platforms to return the edit. So how do you do it so fast?
Yeah, well, actually, two of the people on our engineering team used to be at Tesla, where they dealt with millions, if not billions of hours of Tesla vehicle data and vehicle video and audio. So when it comes to dealing with so much data, especially with the internet, there's two constraints. It's really your own internet speed and then how fast the servers are processing things. And we do a lot of things to do things in parallel, give you content as fast as possible, process things in ways that are efficient. So we've been spending a long time making that better. And it is definitely one of the things that you'll see the newer platforms struggle with more, because it takes time to optimize and get right. And it can be expensive to manage all that. So for people doing video, we know that file sizes and uploads and processing is always a bottleneck and always something frustrating. And it's something that we spend a lot of time thinking about to make better.
Would you think about that as a barrier to entry that you would like patent as intellectual property? Or would you even think about it as selling that as a software service, like selling the speed to other video companies?
I think it's more of a company, company IP, and people feel it in the product, and if they feel it in the product, that turns into value and revenue on our side if they enjoy the product. So I think it's something we keep internal, and hopefully, as long as people are happy and always enjoying the product, the reward is always just great content that they create, and the usage of the product is the best part for us.
Well, thanks for speaking to the secret sauce. I hope you don't have to kill us after, but I appreciate even just a little bit hearing about the parallel processing.
I'm glad you noticed. Yeah, it's there's a lot of little things when you think of all the editors out there today that help you create short form content. It really gets down to the details that makes the difference, because everything can create a short vertical clip for you, or there's lots of tools that can do that. But the question is just how engaging is it? How fast is it? How integrated is it? And what kind of workflow can you build around it? that becomes the question. Because when it comes to short form content, it's how frequently can you create engaging content. It's not just doing it once or twice. So I think that's some of the stuff. I'm happy to talk about some of the different challenges and workflows. Any questions anyone has, happy to chat about them.
Yeah, please ask your questions about your workflow. Tell us, in the comments what your problem is, and then what your solution, like the workflow solution is. But I'll get into asking you, I think this is a good transition, David. So there are a lot of competitors that are free. How do you think about customer retention and stickiness and monetization?
Yeah. I think in the space right now, there's a pretty good pattern or pretty clear pattern of the free tools being more for like a trial experience. They'll usually watermark your videos. It just get you a taste of what it's like. And I think what you're doing when you're trying these different products out for free is seeing how this tool would fit into your workflow. And what I said earlier, I think is important to remember. There are at least 100 tools that could create video, but there's only going to be 1 or 2 tools that work for your use case really, really well. And when we think about tools, we think about what kind of tool will help you, build the house you're trying to get to. What is the final state? And when we think about Minvo versus any other product, we don't think of Minvo as a video editor. We think of Minvo as a way to automate your social media and a way to scale the content that you have. So that's where the difference is. I think you'll notice with Minvo, a lot of our attention is on workflow. That's why we've had integrations with every social platform since day one, from LinkedIn all the way to TikTok. We support reorienting videos for different formats. We focus on AI features that make it quick to create a video and try to learn over time to make better videos for you. And we focus on trying to create content and select content as fast as possible so you can get to that final state. And I think that's the biggest difference, at least philosophically, between the different products. And at the end of the day, after you try the different ones for free, it's always helpful to think, how would I use this in my workflow, and how could I learn this product better? What could I learn about this product, and how could I use it better to actually have a better workflow? So maybe your current workflow is not the best workflow, but maybe there's a product that can suggest a workflow that is actually more streamlined. And then that's how you take the next step in your production and saving time and scaling the content.
What is a workflow you recommend that we might not have thought of or that's doing really well?
Well, I think when you think about content, I think you also want to think about the funnel that is being created to your long form content, if that's what you're creating, which most people here are probably thinking about podcasts, long form content. So the workflow needs to involve everything from generating that long form content, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. It's ideation, it's preparing for the recording, like we're doing here, editing, posting, all that. But then the workflow needs to continue to think about, well, what am I doing to market this? Because they say like a great product that has no marketing, no one's ever going to hear about it. So just like products need marketing, your content needs marketing. No pun intended on content marketing there, right? But if you're thinking, well, after I publish my episode, I have to spend at least another maybe hour creating, let's say, 3 short clips, posting them on my 3 core channels, which are probably YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram, potentially LinkedIn as well. And then what I really recommend is also thinking about the medium length. So I also want to carve out 5-minute clips that I could post on my YouTube, or a 5-minute clip I could post on my LinkedIn, and potentially then also take that into an article. So let's say there's an additional 1 to 2 hours of time that could be spent after the content's created, but that 1 to 2 hours of time would actually get you more value than all the time spent creating the content in the first place.
So you're saying don't just stop when the podcast ends. There's all this additional reach that you can get with post-production and editing.
Absolutely. And we run a small boutique agency on our side. We use it to learn about the workflow and see what we can do to make things more efficient. And we're already seeing with some of our first clients that the same content they've been recording, when we just edit it a little bit differently, we spend the time to be consistent and to scale it, they're already getting more reach than they used to. So sometimes there's a false negative. You feel like you're not getting the reach you expect with content, but it's really just that there's a gap between you and your audience, and that gap is the packaging, the storytelling, and the ease of access, the short form ease of access, the medium length ease of access. That makes a difference from my content's getting no views to now the people who could be interested in my content are finally able to discover it.
Got it. Because the title of this podcast is Streamline Your Social Media by Repurposing Video in 2024. And I've heard a lot of influencers talk about, well, one day I'll have created so much content that I don't need to create new content. I can just repurpose. So is that really possible? Like one day I'll just be done?
I think it's totally, you'll never be done because there's always new things to do. But I think that most people who've been creating content, let's say podcasts, for the last at least year, especially if you're doing more than a year, you probably have enough content for the next 2 to 3 years that you could start repurposing. And it would be fresh and it would be interesting because it's typically timeless content. It's stuff that's about business, helping others, industries, etc. So I think in many cases, people are sitting on gold mines and they don't know how much content they could be pumping out without even recording new content. And then, with all the new content, the opportunity just keeps on growing exponentially.
Wow, that's a great point. Content is timeless a lot of the time. So,
yeah.
I hadn't really thought about that. So, in terms of the beginning, though, before the video is even made, do you have any workflows or suggestions there?
I do actually. So when you're thinking, if you realize that your podcast is not going to be Joe Rogan or Lex Friedman or Huber Lab from day one, right? So the long form is actually going to be watched the least when you're getting started. So what I've been trying with some different people we've been brainstorming on is think about the questions and the structure of the conversation in ways that fit that lead themselves to be repurposed really nicely. And if you do that, then you can steer the conversation with the questions in a way that you get actionable stories, actionable insights from your guest. And then you also have the opportunity to try to share succinct, actionable insights. And if you structure your interviews, especially in the early on in this way, you're setting yourself up for very easy repurposing shorts, 5-minute videos from that hour that you're spending recording. And I think that's been one of the really fun tips to help people get great content out of the long form. And then as you evolve, you find your style and the repurposing pattern starts to naturally flow from your content.
Oh, I love that. I know there are people in the audience. I see you, but you're not asking questions. So please, don't wait till the last minute. Please ask your questions, post a comment. But I will ask, can you give us an example of that? So for example, there's a lot of podcasts that are very long form. They just ramble and go back and forth. You're not really sure if that's the end of the topic or they're going to move on. So what's an example of like a plan that's for short-term content in the future?
Yeah, I think you can look at it in 3 steps. The first step is get to know your guest and think about what are the unique insights that they may have. Now, you don't know exactly what insights they'll have because you're going into the conversation to find out, and that's what makes a podcast exciting. But you go in and understanding their space, maybe they've written books, their experiences, and think about what kind of value could they share. And you're really trying to make your guest shine, right? You're bringing this guest onto the show and trying to find a way to help them share great insights. And as an interviewer, as a podcast host, you're kind of like guiding the ship to help make that happen. So that might mean interrupting at certain points. That might mean asking different questions and having a goal in mind for the content. And this goal can be updated as you're in the conversation. You might realize there's actually a better goal to pursue. Like let's say you have someone who's a sales leader and you think they could help share something about negotiation or closing deals. And that might change as you have the conversation when you learn that they're really good at lead generation. But making sure there's a goal so you can direct the conversation and extract the right things is helpful to making sure that you're getting actionable results. And then the questions that you might structure before you enter the call could help guide towards that goal. So each question you're trying to get a succinct answer to, succinct insight, and extract that point. So every question has a point. And then the last thing is just to listen really carefully. Don't think about the next question. Don't think about your answer, because if you listen really carefully, there's some really exciting insights that come out of the conversation. And from there, you can continue to focus on driving actionable responses, driving engaging conversation. You're always being a very purposeful interviewer to make sure that the content's coming out has a lot of value for the audience, both in the long form and in the short form.
Got it. So is it like me restating what you said, or is it me asking you to restate what you said for the short form?
I think, and I don't like to tell people how to interview or how to do a podcast. It's a very personal thing. Though I do see from the clients we work with in our small agency that typically the more preferable content is that of the guest, where we are cutting something from their guest primarily. So I'd say restating may not be the way to go, but you could definitely add insights that can go. But again, everyone has a different style, and there might be a style where restating works really well, and that's how you create short form content actually within your content, just by restating people's content, right? I think, or stories. I think that's exciting, right?
Yeah, everyone will do it their own way, but just the fact that, there is a medium and there's a short to add to the long, I think that's a great insight.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the close. So the last question is content and SEO strategy. Anything else you want to highlight there?
Yeah, I think SEO is one of the most overlooked things right now in content and podcasting. A lot of podcasts are very actionable, topic based. There's insights being shared, there's helpful tips, and they don't get extracted into something that people can find when they're searching for things on Google. And people should never forget that Google is the largest website and like the most visited website on the internet. People are searching for so many different things: help for things at work, help for things at home. So if you're doing a podcast on parenting, there's all this content sitting within your podcast recorded that no one will ever discover, because if they don't find that title and then watch that video, they'll never discover that content. I think today with AI, it is so easy to just transcribe your video, plop that into ChatGPT, and generate a pretty reasonable article. Minvo actually does this as well. You'll notice if you're on the right tab of Minvo, you can generate an article, take that into your favorite text editor, make some modifications, make it sound more human. But in the span of 10 to 20 minutes, you could have a great article. And the thing that could help people think about what to write about and what to do, there are websites like Google's Keyword Planner, Ahrefs, and a few others that will show you what people are searching for on Google. So look for anything that says search trends and try to find that. And you can see like what kind of topics in my niche are people searching for the most, and try to tailor your articles to fit those trends so that you can start, helping the people looking for those things. So I think SEO is huge. Repurposing text is huge. And I love what you're doing, Jay-Z, with integrating clips directly into the article or the Substack, especially because you don't even have to export clips for each one. You could actually even just copy timestamps from YouTube and in the article say, watch at 20 minutes. And there's something here. Here's my point, and you can continue watching more about at 20 minutes. But if you include little horizontal videos or square videos every few paragraphs, that's also so engaging. So I think SEO is huge. It's not to be overlooked. It's definitely not dead just because social media is around. And especially for podcasters who are producing such dense, great, helpful content, definitely would love to see more podcasters leveraging SEO in their work.
Well, that's good, because this post-production part is so time consuming, and I'm in it for the glamour. Like, I love setting up the podcast in the beginning, meeting new people like you, that's like, that's my jam. And then doing the SEO after that is definitely not my jam, but I'm glad you're telling me that that's important. My question is, I stream to YouTube because it's a Google company, and so Google finds my videos in search. So why is Google not crawling like the YouTube transcript to make it part of the Google search? Like, why do I have to go through these extra steps of transcribing and blogging about it?
Google does do that, and that you'll notice on YouTube that transcripts are available, and it's not just because Google is doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. So Google does do that for that purpose, and they will show videos. The difference is just when you write an article that someone can read and consume in like 1 minute of skimming, or when you get to choose the headline of that article. So it's not just the interview, it's not just the name of the podcast, which is the title, not just the title of your YouTube video, but actually a actionable headline that you could have listed on the search results. I think that's going to be the difference. But you're right. If you do have something in transcript, Google will try to pick it up if it makes most sense. But if you have an article with a really powerful headline, super relevant to the search, and text within that article that is actionable and concise, that is going to rank so much higher than any transcript matching that Google would do.
I see. So the ranking and relevancy algos at Google will just put that at the top. Your blog will go at the top, and it's worth it. Don't go halfway, like go all in.
Absolutely. It's hard work. Growing content, growing brands, hard work. It's creating content, it's distributing it to make sure people can find out about it. And then it's learning from what's working and what's not. And it's definitely not something that happens overnight. But I think everyone who's done it and done it successfully will say it's worth it. Say it takes time, but they say it's very worth it.
In your product, the blog feature, is that like a full page or is that just a short post?
It can do either, actually. I mean, if you'd like to share the screen again.
Yeah.
So I was previously on the transcript screen over here. We had the moments where we saw the list of top moments. But if we go over to the writing screen, you'll see the assistant is going to suggest a few things we can do. And from here, we could actually generate a title for the video. So we can get the YouTube title generated. We can get the timestamps for YouTube generated here. We can get the description generated, even podcast show notes. So you could come into Minvo from your very first step before you even go anywhere else. And then after that, you can write tweets, LinkedIn posts, articles, really whatever you like. It's ChatGPT in the back end, which is like many AI products these days. But it's just we've structured your podcast in a way to help it get the most understanding of it. So you get results that are much more personalized, much more authentic to the actual content that you've created.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can write one of our prompts is come up with an idea for a 5 ways listicle article. And this is an interview between Tony Fadell and Lex Friedman, creator, one of the creators of the iPod. So we'll see it's going to give us 5 ideas for listicles. And then the next question I'll ask it is, well, write me an article about these. I think it's one of the older episodes I was working on. Let's see. Okay, that's pretty good. We can take user-centric approach. Let's see. It's going to go through. You can download the text, copy the text, take your favorite text editor. With AI text, I think it's become pretty expected that you should take some time to edit it just to make sure it's your voice and it's useful. It's not using words that no one wants to really read. But yeah, you get a great draft right from the product.
That's awesome. I didn't know about this because I've been using Copilot by Microsoft and, of course, ChatGPT by OpenAI, and actually Claude because I was uploading PDFs of my transcript. But this is native, so
exactly.
Nice to.
Exactly. Your transcript's already here, so it's already available for the chat. And you can actually download your transcript from Minvo as well. So if you're using something else to transcribe or you want to use the transcript that you've edited in Minvo, just go to the transcript screen, click download, and you've saved the step.
Does this suggest future topics?
No, not yet, actually. We haven't gone into that yet, but it's definitely something we're excited about to help people with the ideation and the additional content they could be creating.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, what should people do to help you?
Oh, well, I mean, we're here to help others. So just if you head over to minvo.pro, and so it's minvo.pro, switch over here. Oops, go over here. And you'll be able to try Minvo for free. And you can upload your first video. Just click try Minvo, see what you get, and try all the features. Connect your TikTok, post, add in emojis, media. There's background music you can add in. See what you can create with the platform. Try it out. And if you have any questions, you can join our Discord. We have intercom support. We're always happy to help, always happy to see people grow their content and start scaling.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really recommend this tool. And if you want to learn more about podcasting as a networking and lead gen and sales tool for your business, if you're an entrepreneur or starting a business, you should also visit me at podcastboss.com. callmejz.ai. I think we've had some shy people here. So can they get in touch with you, David, directly on LinkedIn or ask any other questions that, I think podcasters can be shy to ask about?
Yeah, please. My LinkedIn messages are always open. Just send me a message, say that you saw us on the podcast, and I'd love to chat.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to end the stream. David, you can stay on, but everyone else, we will see you next time. I think I'm going to be talking about AR, VR next time. So stay tuned.
Amazing.
Thank you.